Before we begin, two messages. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. What mobile platform do companies like eBay, NBC Universal, the Los Angeles Times, Razorfish, and PayPal use to build their cross-platform native applications? Titanium by Appcelerator. They aren't alone. There are now over 25,000 apps deployed by Appcelerator, which has been called the Rosetta Stone of app development. And you can start now for free. Just go to www.appcelerator.com for more information. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. This is Untether.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge, and this is that place where you come to each and every day or each and every week or however often you come here to find these stories, these great stories about people that are pushing the envelope in the mobile industry. And, you know, mobile just doesn't mean devices anymore. It can mean your car, it can mean your house, it can mean your TV, it can mean anything. So we all have found this out. It can mean even sensors in your body. We'll get into that, not today, but certainly in a few more episodes. Excited about this. You know, one of the areas, obviously, in the mobile space that everybody talks about that is certainly not at risk of dipping down, it's driving a lot of the innovation and a lot of the revenue out of mobile, is gaming. It's also disrupting quite a bit the console makers and the traditional gaming companies, and they're scrambling because companies like this, upstart companies like CrossBorders or CBLabs, who we're talking to today, can come up with ideas, fresh ideas, and deploy with limited resources and limited capital and just a lot of imagination. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And with me is Adam Khan, who is the creative director for CrossBorders and CBLabs. One company, but they've just released about a week ago the Adventures of Timmy, which is Run Kitty Run. The Adventures of Timmy Run Kitty Run, which is a mobile game for the iPhone, and it's gotten rave reviews, and it's built on a different kind of platform, and we're going to talk about a lot of these things, even the fact that this is their first game that they've ever put out. Ambitious, ambitious, ambitious. Adam, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, I mean, before we get into this, CrossBorders, CBLabs, you guys are a services company, but you're building your own IP now. Let's talk about the genesis. How old is the company, and I mean, what does CrossBorders do, and why get into your own IP?
Sure. The company is about 7 years old. It was started by Brian Edelman, and then Nick Godfrey came on. The company originally started as sort of a small documentary company, doing films with actually Michael Phelps before he was Michael Phelps.
Before he's famous, yeah.
Yeah, before he was famous. And then, you know, from there, as things started to change, they went into sort of doing website design and content providing. So for the past couple of years, they've really been service providing and doing small digital content for big brands like Subway or Walmart or Miami Dolphins. Yeah. And then just over a year ago, they sort of wanted to create their own intellectual property. You know, service providing is great, you know, keeps the lights on, but everyone at the company really had some big ideas, and they were ambitious thinkers and creatives. So they brought me on to sort of shake things up and come up with our own intellectual property.
So it's an established company with clients, and I mean, do you have an idea of why they? You know, we see this quite a bit with services company that transition. You know, they're helping other brands build their brands and build their own intellectual property, and then they want to get into that business. Is it something that simple? You know, I see this happening a lot.
Is it that simple? I mean, I don't think it's that simple. I think it's quite ambitious. I mean, I think what separates CrossBorders from a bunch of other companies is we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the office, and I think we're all sort of hungry, and we're big thinkers, we're creative, we have a lot of strategy behind our belt, and I think we just wanted to try something for ourselves, see if we could do it.
Well, and ambition is what ambitious is what you undertook. So we were talking about it before we started recording, is that you decide, well, first, why games? Why was that the first choice?
Man, it was a task that Brian Edelman and Nick Godfrey gave me. They said, we want to get into this into the app market. What do we do? And I said, well, we could either, the way I was breaking it up is like, we could either do utility or entertainment. And I think utility is very challenging. There's a million Foursquares and a million check-ins for lunch like Yelp or Urban Daddy. The gaming market, even though it's saturated, there's still an opportunity to come up with something unique and fresh. So I came up with about five different games, and I pitched it to them, and they were like, let's just do it. I mean, it was kind of as simple as that. So they're like, let's just make a game and go for it. And then I kind of left, and I was like, I've been playing games since I was 5 years old, but I've never made one. So what did I get myself into?
Well, I mean, I want to talk about that in a second, but when you were making that decision between a very crowded market, both in the utility side, in applications, mobile applications, and games, there's some very innovative games that don't do very well, and there's some very unimaginative games, simple games that do exceptionally well. And the same thing when it comes to the utilities market. Was it just, would you have been more comfortable building a utility versus a game, with your background? Or were they both going to be a challenge?
I think they were both going to be a challenge. I think utility is slightly harder because you have to have some sort of edge up on everyone else. How many times can you check in on, a bunch of different apps and then tie it into your social network and friends? So I felt like, that was going to be a challenge within itself, coming up with a unique idea that wasn't like everyone else. Yeah. So I think that's why we sort of went with a game. It was a little easier to concept.
So you decide on games, and what was that process? Now that you've gone away and you said, listen, we got to build a game. What was that process? You've never done this before, and here you are about to build a mobile game for as a first piece of IP for this company. You went away thinking what?
I went away thinking, wow, this is really ambitious. I think I've been playing games my whole life, and I had some sort of concept of, I think what sort of went into it. My brother used to play he used to be a beta tester for Treyarch. So, through conversations, I kind of had an idea, and I've done my research, but I had no clue what went into making an actual game. I think I played a lot of simple games like Doodle Jump, and I'm like, okay, it's just a character, and there's some accelerometer that the developer will take care of. But I had no clue that all this work would really go into it, and we would really need a team to help make a game, more or less.
It's such a transition, isn't it? From gamer to game developer?
Oh, definitely, 100%. We were kind of joking about it the other day as we were reflecting on the process itself, but I went in saying like, I'll just draw my main character and I'll do his animations, and then the developer will handle it from there, and then I'll have an artist do this and the developer will handle it. And I don't even really know what I was thinking. And then I think about a couple weeks into it, the development team was kind of like, well, where's all the work? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I drew it. And they're like, no, you need sprite sheets and and I hate to admit it, but I was like, what is a sprite sheet?
Oh, nice.
And it was a little embarrassing, but it was really refreshing at the same time because it kind of broke sort of the typical habits or things I was accustomed to. My background is art and traditional advertising, so all of a sudden to say, wow, you need sprite sheets and you need all these different animations and backgrounds and all that, we kind of hit the ground running and just had to learn on our feet, more or less.
Now, what do you think?
So it was a crazy process.
So, I can see that, and probably pretty liberating because you don't have the baggage of being a game developer. You could probably look at things very differently than a game developer would. You'd say, instead of saying it should be like this because that's a convention, did you find yourself, trampling on convention in a way that allowed you to create the game you wanted to create?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there were some expectations from the developers because they've done this before. But then when we approached it, we were like, well, why does it have to be that way? Yeah. Like, why do I have to draw the animations this way? Or why do I have to enter tile properties that way? Why can't we just create, And I think that's coming from myself and then the art designer, Keith Thesernio, who helped me on the project. We're just so accustomed to Photoshop and Illustrator. So we're like, oh, well, it doesn't have to be this way. We can just touch it up in Photoshop. So I think it was a crazy learning curve, but I think collaboratively we kind of came together and pushed each other because development might have wanted it one way, we wanted another way, and then we came together somewhere in the middle.
I mean, how long did it take? So from the moment you walked away, you said, look, we're not going to do a utility. We're going to do a game. We're going to dive right into it. When was that conversation? And you just launched the game at the end of September of 2011. I mean, how long a process was this in game development?
So I started the concepting the game in August 2010. Sort of sold it into Brian Edelman and Nick Godfrey around September, beginning of October, and then I really had to search for a development partner. Sorry, these lights are flashing.
It's like a disco, isn't it?
I feel like I'm at like a party. So I sold it into them around October, and then I literally started searching for a development partner in late October. The whole thing with us is this was our first time, and we wanted to find a development partner that really wanted to collaborate. Right. I think we're so used to traditional advertising where, we just find a director and they, we pay them and they go shoot something, but we really wanted to find a partner that was just as passionate as we are. We really wanted to create something that we loved, So we were looking for a company that really wanted to collaborate and be a partner. I think with a lot of things in traditional advertising, we normally find a vendor who just wants to produce. But I think for us being first timers, we really wanted to find a company that wanted to collaborate more or less, really take this to the next level as much as we did. So we found Rain in American Fork, Utah in about late October. A couple conversations, really wanted to see where we thought we were going to take the game and where they wanted to take the game. And I think we netted out in January and started production mid to late February. So it took about 8 months to make the whole entire game, but a year for me, more or less, in concepting to initial launch.
So when you were looking for that partner, I mean, it's funny. Did you source a lot of companies, or was it, did you go through contacts? How did you find Rain? How did you find these guys?
I had just left this company, Gray Advertising in New York. Yeah. Right at the end of August. I had lunch with my old boss just as I got back from a week hiatus to sort of be creative and come up with this game I was tasked to come up with. And I ran into an old producer at Gray and said, we just finished a project with them. We had a great relationship. You should give them a call. So I called this amazing producer who was on my project, Amy Hatch. We had about a two-hour conversation about the game, and everything else is history. So it comes down to personal contacts in this space, doesn't it? Yeah, and referrals yeah, totally. And I think this really has gone, for me at least, above just a partnership and more into a friendship with everyone. I mean, I talked to Amy and the two developers every single day, Monday through Friday, from February to September. Yeah. And you don't get that on a lot of projects. So I think this really was a great partnership and collaboration.
And it's so rare. I mean, and especially when you guys are building your first IP-based, you're exposed here, aren't you? And especially for you, listen, you've taken this on your shoulders. This is the first thing that we're going to do, and it's going to be a game, and you've picked the partners, and you're going to run with it. So it's so important that I heard a lot of companies have outsourced, some of the IP development, and it isn't this kind of collaborative, deep engagement relationship that you're talking about, and it hasn't gone so well. Right. So, I think that's a lesson, obviously, is that you got to find the right partner, and oftentimes the bigger companies aren't the better ones, but it's the ones that are going to show you that attention, that you really feel like they're part of the team as well.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to build it. And we talked about this a little bit before I think we started recording, but the game concept that you came up with at the very beginning, how much did that differ from the actual final product that you put out?
I'd say about 99%. I'd say, well, the thing is, to be honest, like from the beginning, there was always this concept of a little boy named Timmy in a cat suit who had to rescue a girl named Kitty. So from that moment on, everything, revolved around this one story. But the original game itself, what I had sold into Brian and Nick was a Frankenstein doodle jump. I loved doodle jump, but I get so frustrated because there's only, you can only go so high once you hit that level of your skill. And then there were some aspects of it where you kept falling and you couldn't redo levels that you had fallen through and stuff like that. So I was like, I'll just Frankenstein all this cool stuff. So the initial idea was Doodle Jump meets Bird Strike meets Dark Nebula, where it really kind of used the accelerometer more or less. Yeah. And then when I started talking to Rain and told them my concept, what was nice about this partnership was they tried to talk me out of
off the ledge.
They were like, there's no way you're going to do this, especially because I was like, Timmy's always going to be jumping. And they're like, well, if he's going to be jumping, then you're not going to be able to backtrack. So that's how it all of a sudden became this side-scroller platformer game. So, which honestly is really nice because for the first time, creative and development collaborated, right. And it wasn't me leading and saying like, this is what I want. It was kind of the two of us saying, how do we get to a point where we're both happy with a product?
Such a great observation, and it's really about that complexity issue, specifically around mobile, right? Is that just because you can use the accelerometer for everything, just because you can doesn't mean that you should all the time, right?
Right.
And,
exactly.
And I think that's one of the great things is that you come at it from a game user perspective, not a game developer perspective. And there are some norms that there's a vision, which you had clearly, and then there's a will people buy it and use it reality, and then mixed in the middle is the kind of the logical layer, which is usually the development team. And it just seems like it was a good combination of the two.
Oh, definitely.
What about when you went through this process with them, was there strife? I mean, how did you defend your ideas? Did they defend their ideas? Did you come to the table and kind of say, okay, listen, I went up here, they started down here, and then you just kind of met halfway?
I think, a little bit. I mean, I think there was always that direction and vision of the game, but I think because we had such limited resources, we had to sort of evaluate what we could accomplish, I don't know if we spoke about it before, but there's only two designers. It was myself and Keith Osernio, who was the lead art director, and then one producer, Amy Hatch, and 1.5, 2 developers at a time, Josh Bueller and Heber Sheffield, and that was it. Just 5 people, yeah. And then I had my brother QA when he could. So it was very small. So, I wanted, there would be things that I'd want to do this, and development would say, okay, go for it. And there were things that I'd say to development, and they'd be like, all right, we'll get it done. Yeah. So I definitely think we had our goals and our ideas, and we always kind of tried to meet in the middle somewhere.
One of the so it's been out a week. Do you have numbers on this? Like how many games? This is a 4-pay. Your revenue model is 4-pay, right?
Yeah.
Like you buy the game for 99 cents, and that's your revenue expectation. Did you set any before you launched the game? Did you have any idea of what it might be or what you wanted it to be? Except for like obviously $100 million or a kind of next Angry Birds kind of thing. But did you have an idea of what you thought it might do?
It's really hard to say. I think from the beginning, what's been nice about this is that we never said you need 1 million downloads. I think we went into this saying this is our passion project. This is what we want to create. If you make it, I mean, that is a feat within itself.
Absolutely.
Which is really nice. I mean, there is a lot of pressure that I've put on myself, obviously, because I want this to be successful. But there wasn't a hard number. There wasn't like, we need 100,000 downloads to say this is successful. Right now, I think within this week of being out, we have just around 5,000 downloads.
Great.
Which is impressive. I think on our side, especially being first-time gamers, I've done quite a bit of TV spots. I don't even know if maybe 2 people saw it. So it's really nice seeing that there is a community out there that likes playing and they like the work we've done. But I think really for us, this is just about putting out a game that we're passionate about, and we just want to see if people like it.
So, but I mean, going out there, that's pretty good. Is it to have expectations of, listen, we're testing this, we're trying to build our own IP. We don't know what this means in this world. And I think that if you ask anybody and say, I've talked to guys who have had 100 downloads in their first week and feel very satisfied. So 5,000 people that you've touched, especially at a price point of, people are paying for it, which is pretty stellar. So now that you've done that, now that you're out a week and you've had this kind of success, does that change it for you? Does that change your behavior? Do you think, okay, now what do we have to do now to get to the next level? How do we market this? How do we push this even more? Does it kind of obviously lifts your spirits? But
definitely.
Then what happens after this?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, Adobe Max was great for us. I think right now we're kicking it into high gear with phase 2, I'd say. I think the first thing was about getting the game out to the community and seeing what is resonating with them. And now it's about really talking to the community. Everyone has, commented on these vinyl dolls that we've made or the skateboards we've made. But I think we need to start communicating more through the game itself, whether it's sharing points or scores. And I think right now we really just need to take it to that next level where the social media community is touched more than just our circle of friends. Right. I might have 600 friends on Facebook. They all like the game, great. But I would love for the friends that are not in my circle to sort of be touched by the game. So I think we're trying to figure out ways to get a farther reach on the community.
That's key, right? I mean, you could build the best game in the world. I've read the reviews for the Adventures of Timmy, and they're comparing it to like Super Mario or Mario Brothers, and that kind of side scroller, engaging, deep environment where there's challenge. It's not just a simple game and you're going to get bored of it. So great reviews have come out from what I've read, the number of them. But you can build the best product in the world, get the best reviews in the world, and be on TV as many times. But it is that awareness making that makes or breaks these applications, isn't it? And,
right.
And I mean, so do you have thoughts around how you're going to kind of amp it so 5,000 becomes 10,000, becomes 100,000, becomes 1 million? Is that the goal with this? Obviously?
Yeah. I mean, it would be amazing to get that kind of reach out of a first-time game.
Yeah.
I think right now we're just looking at a bunch of other games that have been successful. I'd say Plants vs. Zombies or Angry Birds, obviously. Yeah. And just trying to see how they've reached and touched the community. I mean, I think we wanted to try and do something like that in the beginning, but we had no following. And I think now that we're starting to get some numbers and some growth, want to figure out how to make Timmy or Kitty a household name. Yeah. So I think we're trying to figure out how to do that right now.
Well, my kids call everything that they have a stuffed animal Kitty, so it's already a household name here, right? So you do look at this and say, are these brands that can stand on their own? Can they be like the Angry Birds plush toys, or can they be their? This is a franchise that you're trying to build here.
Oh, definitely. And I think that was something important to me. As a storyteller, trying to figure out how we could tell a story that would resonate with adults, but then kids at the same time. I think Pixar is a great example, like The Incredibles or Toy Story. There's always that thing where adults are like, oh my God, like that really touched me, or I got it. But then there's that aspect where kids love it as well. And I think with the storyline, there's this aspect of, parents could relate, whether it's the game being more like a Mario, a game that we grew up on, or kids might feel like that little boy in a cat suit who goes to school and gets picked on. And so we threw in that, little line of bullying, and then we threw in some things that we thought parents would love and kids would love as well.
Did you think it was this complex when you got into it? When it was just so many different layers around just creating a great story, but then integrating this so that it does have that appeal across. So parents can hand it to their kids, or parents, late at night can be like, "Well, I'm going to play a couple of levels," right?
Right.
That kind of complexity, it just it's not X and Y plane anymore. It's like X, Y, Z, and A, B, C planes, and so when you start to when you unravel this, did it ever bog you down? Like, there is so much going on here all at once.
Oh yeah, I think once mid-June hit, I was going nuts.
Stop thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are so many levels of complexity. Trying to weave a story into a game is a challenge itself.
Yep.
And then making the game challenging, and not making the game challenging but not too overwhelming for people, so things could be beatable and not unbeatable. I think League of Evil, one of my favorite games on the iOS, is so freaking hard.
Yeah.
And there are points where I'm like, this is just not beatable.
Just putting it down.
I'm putting it down.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that with.
So we're back. We had some bandwidth issues. Quick change of wardrobe, and we're back. I wanted to finish this off, Adam, around a few key questions. One of them is that you guys used Adobe Edge as part of the development process for this, and it's a new. They're just into Revolution number 2. It's in beta. It's a new technology. How did you get exposed to Edge, and where are you using it, and where is it involved in the game?
Sure. So we got exposed into Edge through Rain, the development company on our game. They got their hands on a beta version and did some initial testing, and immediately got some notoriety through Adobe. And the interesting thing about Edge is it sort of provided a solution as to how we were going to be able to show our cutscenes within the game. Initially we were thinking video or After Effects, but as the file size grew and grew within our game, we realized that was just going to be a huge challenge. The initial idea was under 20 megs, and I think we finished at 130.
Nice.
But After Effects or some sort of video stuff would have taken us up into 200, which is sort of a challenge for a lot of people downloading on Wi-Fi. Yeah. So we went with Edge, which is, I'd say my thinking is like the HTML version of Flash, more or less. And what that did was it allowed us to really showcase the sort of artwork that we wanted to provide in the game to tell the backstory. I think what I wanted to do is simply convey the story in the cutscenes. I know a lot of people don't enjoy watching cutscenes in the game, but I thought that what Edge was able to do with ours really helped lend to a better story.
And it's fascinating because I would think that there would be a lot of opportunity for a showcase, right? So if you're early on in the technology and using something like this that's still in beta, obviously Adobe's looking for companies that are forward thinking and using this in their game or in their application. Do you look at this as a good partnership, as a way to generate that bump? We talked about it earlier. How do you create awareness? Is this one of those things?
Yeah, honestly, initially we went into this saying, let's just use it because it works, and it worked seamlessly for us. There were a couple kinks, being that it was in beta. But we went into it just as let's be the first ones to launch an iOS game with Adobe Edge. And then through sort of our contacts at Adobe, which Rain really leveraged, we somehow landed ourselves in the keynote at Adobe Max on Tuesday, which was absolutely amazing. So, initially it was let's just be the first to the game, not thinking anything of it. And then it really worked out to be a great marketing tool.
No kidding. But that's serendipity, right? That if you're looking for ways to do something that is new and challenging in the way people, in a way that people haven't done it before,
right?
Just like coming in with a first-time game maker, why not break all the rules? You might as well leverage all the technologies you can, and then see where it leads, which is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
What about so you're on the iPhone now? Is this? Do you plan on bringing this up to iOS, all iOS devices like the iPad? Is that the natural extension for you guys?
Yeah, I would love to. I think, it's funny since things shift so rapidly. I think a natural progression would just be to scale up and go right to iPad.
Yeah.
However, there are so many people on Android who have been begging us to get on there at the conference. So I think we really need to sort of reevaluate where we want to go next. It's not like we're holding out, because it's really all about finances.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to just flip a switch. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to be everywhere. I think every different platform provides some different form of gaming. So I'd be totally open to that.
It's funny because a lot of companies do that. They'll focus on, I mean, Instagram is a perfect example from a utility app that said, listen, we got 10 million users strong, probably increasing on one platform, which is iOS. And people have been clamoring and asking them to go to Android. But they say, you know what, we haven't perfected that experience yet, or we can't replicate the experience that you get in iOS. So we don't want to damage the brand by bringing it over too soon. But then they let somebody like Flickr in to see if they can actually mop up the Android market.
Right.
I mean, when you look at transitioning from one platform to another, do you take that into consideration, or do you just look at the platform and say, okay, listen, we're going to make the best gaming experience we can for that platform, and maybe there will be a few discrepancies between the two platforms?
Yeah, I think we definitely have to look at it like that. I mean, I think that's how we sort of approached the iPhone. I mean, it's so, in a way, I guess it's sort of hard to really define an answer for that one. But yeah, I think we really just needed to, with each platform, take a look at what that device offers and see if we could provide the best gaming experience. Yeah. I think there has been some conversation online lately on Touch Arcade about the controls. A lot, there's, say, maybe 50% that love this D-pad that we've created, and there's some that really dislike it, and they'd rather go back to a left-right arrow. Personally, we felt like bringing this D-pad, stick to the game was perfect for the iPhone. We felt like, you get so excited playing, why limit you to just a left and right arrow? So we felt like, let's use the analog stick. Not everyone's enjoying it, and it's totally valid, and we're definitely looking into providing a different gameplay for those people. But I think that's definitely how we have to look at it. The iPad, as great as it is to double up and play on my iPad, it's a bigger screen now, so you have to use more of it. So I think with each device, we definitely have to take a step back instead of just replicating it, kind of review it and see how we're going to provide a different gaming experience to the game, but sort of the same feel.
I think that you hit on something that's so challenging in this, because my last question, which is a big question, which is the future of gaming systems and all that kind of stuff, it kind of leads into this. This is kind of the wild west when you get into multiple screens. Even in iOS, you've got you've got a smaller screen in the iPhone and the iPod Touch, and then you've got a bigger screen in the iPads. You've also got iPhone 4S, which is coming out with twice the horsepower, so you kind of want to accommodate that and the capabilities in that, but downgrade to iPhone 4. And then you've got the whole Android line, which is you name the screen size, you name the input type, you name everything, the processor speed, and all that kind of stuff, and it really becomes a huge mess and a very expensive mess to get on top of all these platforms and maintain all the software on these platforms. So do you ever look at longingly at the PSP or the Nintendo DS or 3DS and say, wow, if there was just one platform, it must be easy to build a game for something that the controlled hardware specs for?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I would actually be really interested in bringing this to Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I think Xbox over the years has done a lot for their community itself, and I think they've brought a lot of success to independent game developers like Limbo.
Yep.
And I think that would be something that I would love to sort of get on and sort of see where our game fits sort of in their platform, and see if it resonates the same with Xbox Live folks as it is currently with iOS people.
Do you think you need that kind of validation, or has the gaming world shifted enough so that there's enough respect that's given to the iPhone, iOS, or Android games that are out there?
I think it is. I think yes and no. I think a lot of some feedback that's come to us is that they love the game. It's simple. but there are things that they felt like we were missing out on or didn't take advantage of by creating the game firstly on the iPhone, and that was multiple buttons, power-ups, have an arrow to look up, look down.
Yeah.
And I think for us, I really tried to study the device and what other games were doing, and I really felt like the device is so limiting. Although you can do so much with this, the thing that you're missing at its core is that feel of a D-pad. So I didn't want to add in all those things that everyone was like hoping for, because I felt like it was going to fall short at the end of the game. So I think moving over to something like an Xbox or PSP or PlayStation might open up these different opportunities to create a different or better game experience.
Right. Yeah, and that's. Would you look at the iOS or these mobile gaming as the entry level there, or do you think that at some point it's going to shift to that this is the end game, which is these mobile devices that everybody carries with us? Why would we need a third device or a second device?
I think it's up in the air right now. I think if these games start to figure out how to incorporate maybe a controller, some way. I saw.
I've seen some of them like the suction cup controllers where you can buy from the screen
on the iPad. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of like fair game right now. I think it's easier for independent gaming companies to go right to iOS or Android because you don't need millions and millions of dollars to get on the system. Right. So I think this is still a great opportunity to kind of see if you're able to play in the space. But I think as things start getting perfected, I mean, I saw a couple Apple prototypes where you dock your iPhone and it's mirrored onto the screen, and then you have an Apple controller to play the game. So maybe that's the end game, and maybe it's just this is the almighty device that you got to perfect on. Who knows?
It's an interesting theory that every screen you have is a dumb screen, and it just needs basically a CPU, a little bit of memory, not even a little bit of memory, because if you've got cloud storage, you just need a little bit of memory, and you need a CPU and an input mechanism, and that becomes your life, and it's portable. Forget the cloud, really. Forget laptops and tablets. All you need is an input mechanism like a keyboard and or a controller, and you've got what you can play games or do your word processing. Yeah.
The funny thing is, I mean, since I started this, I have not played my Xbox, which is so frustrating because I love just sitting down and tuning into it. But it almost becomes more of a challenge to lock myself into a seat. Being that I live in Manhattan, I play most of my games on the subway before a meeting or on the go in a cab.
Yeah.
So I don't truly enjoy the same gaming experience as someone somewhere else in the States or out of the country.
That's so, it's this might be a little bit off topic, but it's kind of the acceptance point, where we used to strive for Blu-ray quality video, right, or high def quality video and everything that we had. So we have big screens, we have big TVs, but the majority of video that we're seeing now is consumed on a mobile device on a small screen. So we've kind of taken a step back and realized that it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to see the amazing detail. I just want to experience the movie where I am when I am doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And it's the same thing, is that the same thing that we're seeing with games? Is that some of these games are elaborate $20, $30, $40 million productions, and on Xbox and that kind of stuff. And what we're seeing is a $200 million company, or a company that can generate $200 million flinging birds. So the simplicity of that. Are we pulling back on the complex games and the expensive games, like we did with the quality of video that we're watching?
I think so. I mean, I cannot believe how many 8-bit games are in the App Store right now. I mean, and I think that's one thing about our game is that the original design was more like a Mario. It was primary colors. And then I kept downloading all these games, and I'm like, this is crazy, because you can push the graphics so far, especially like Infinity Blade. So I'm like, well, I really I honestly scrapped the whole design of the game, I think in April or May. And I said, we got to start over because we got to push the graphics to the next level, at least for us. So I'd say, there's a wide range. Everyone's trying to figure out, and every graphic type really appeals to different people,
So do you think that there's enough room for all these devices and handheld devices as well, when dedicated gaming devices?
I think it's going to have to be.
Well, I even talked. I know that recent news that Sony and Ericsson are splitting up their marriage between the Sony Ericsson brand, and because Sony wants to take their PlayStation Portable or the PSP and turn it into a phone, and they can't do it without giving it. So, I think that what we're about to witness is even more opportunity. And
right.
At some point, wouldn't you see everybody just having emulators? It's like you'd have the iOS emulator on a Sony PSP, right?
Right.
Or a Sony emulator, which you've seen on Android, or a Sony emulator on iOS, because then it becomes, it's the gamer's dream, where you can quite literally play everything across all platforms, and it's good for distribution as well.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved it when someone put TurboGrafx 16 on the iOS, because I used to play like Bonk's Adventure and all that.
Exactly.
It was a nice little throwback, but yeah, that would be amazing if just everything sort of came together.
Well, that's the utopian vision. There's a whole bunch of patents, a whole lot of legal stuff, and probably pretty many years before anybody gives up on let's go of the control of what they've got.
True.
All right, so how can people find out about you? You got a whole bunch of websites.
Yep.
Where should we send them?
Oh man. Right now, I'd send them to the iTunes store.
Nice. Forget everything else. Go spend the 99 cents on the game, right? Don't go to a website.
Yeah. Well, the website almost seems secondary nowadays because of Facebook and Twitter are really where you get all your news. So I'd say
go to iTunes first.
Yeah, but I'd say go to Facebook. Besides iTunes, we'd love you to download the game. But just to check out what we're doing, we made custom vinyl dolls for the first run, some custom skateboards, and we've been doing a lot of press, even just to get to know us more and find out what we're doing with the game.
Facebook.com/what?
The Adventures of Timmy, I think, or the ADV of Timmy.
The ADV of Timmy. I'll tell you if that's right. You should know, and you do. No, it's not that. All right. Is it Adventures?
The Adventures.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
The Adventures of Timmy. So go to facebook.com/The Adventures of Timmy, and you can see you guys are pretty active. Like this page, talk about this page, check out the product, and then once you decide, there's a great trailer as well, which is very well done.
Thank you.
And so go and take a look at the trailer, and then spend, after all that effort, you've just wasted probably, if you're an hourly wage person, or even if you're making a lot of money, you've just probably wasted more than the total value of the game. So go and buy the game for 99 cents. Come on,
yes,
don't
please.
be cheap. Don't be cheap!
We've packed in a lot for that $1.
That whole $1. Oops, look, I just lost $1. Oops, another $1. You got more than $1 in your couch right now. Go and collect that and download the game and help support independent game developers and help support independent software developers in this very competitive world. We need more people building more great games, innovations, so that we can push this industry even further. And I know that Adam and his team are doing this. So, look, man, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. I know we had challenges with bandwidth, but we made it through.
Yeah, that's the digital age.
It is. It's next time I'll come to you. I need about 13 more sponsors, and I'll be able to come out to you. I'll do these interviews live. Scouts honor. 13 more sponsors. So go to facebook.com/The Adventures of Timmy, Timmy, or just go to iTunes and download it. And Adam, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This was a pleasure.
So you guys who are in the audience right now, when this is over, go and download this game. Go and play it, and offer some feedback. Let me know what you think, or let Adam know what you think. Go to the Facebook page and offer some comments, especially the controllers. Go and take a look at how they're doing this. And You can reach me at untetheredgmail.com. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I really appreciate the fact that you listen and watch these episodes. It's the reason I do them, and I'd appreciate some feedback as well. Thank you guys for watching. Adam, thank you for participating.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time on Untethered.tv.